Innovation, imagination, wonder. These are just some of the words used to describe Dr. Harvey Passes. Dr. Passes explores interesting people and ideas that will stimulate you. He questions the people who develop, create, and employ novel concepts in business and everyday lives. He especially loves to speak with successful people. How did they do it? How can you do it too? So let's join Dr. Harvey Passes in his quest of wonder and curiosity as we watch Dr. Harvey Passes Presents.
Staying on Long Island, I have taken you to so many places throughout the world, but I always love coming back to Long Island. Today's show is going to be just unusual, different, and interesting. And I never ever would have dreamed that I would be doing this kind of show. We're not leaving Long Island, and yet we are. Let me explain. But first, before I explain, I want to introduce you to someone who actually turned me on to something that I knew very little about, and you're going to learn a lot today as well as I am. You're going to meet Linda Villano. Linda, hi.
Pleasure.
Great for you to come down. I appreciate you taking the time because I know you're very busy. Let me tell my viewer a little bit about you and why I invited you to come down here. This is great. One day, I'm walking down the street, and I'm in Manhasset, Planone Road, and I'm walking down, and all of a sudden I see a shop, and it's a tea shop called Serendipity. I like that. And I walk in there, and I figured that, you can go in there and sit down and have a cup of tea. I don't normally drink tea, but something just drove me right in there. I know it was my car. Something drove me to go over there, and I went and I found out that it was not a tea shop. She is a tea wholesaler, and she travels all around the world bringing teas into the United States. Mm-hmm. And she gave me a tour, and she showed me all the different teas, and I became very heady with the smells. They're intoxicating. They were marvelous. The scent was incredible. It's the kind of thing you didn't want to just drink it. You just wanted to keep smelling it. And it reminded me of wine, like a wine tasting, or where you go through the vineyards, or you go into the winery and you smell everything. And it was just marvelous. And I realized that Linda was very knowledgeable, and I pleaded with her. I twisted her arm and I said, come and be a guest on my show, and let's tell all the people on Long Island a little bit about teas. Let's educate everyone as to what's going on. She said yes. So I'm speaking fast because we've got a lot to go through. You're going to love the show. This is going to be exciting, especially if you love tea. This is great fun. Okay. Great. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Great for you to come in here. We're going to be doing a tasting today,
yes,
as well as learning and talking. So why don't we do this? First, get our first tea tasting ready of this flight of tea tasting that we're doing here. Let's get ready, the first one, and then we'll talk a little bit while it's steeping.
Happily.
Okay. What is our first tea?
The first tea we're tasting is a white tea.
White tea. Okay.
And it is called Yin Zhen.
Yin Zhen. Where does this come from?
Yin Zhen is from China.
Aha.
White tea is from the Fujian province of China. Mm-hmm. There are several grades of white tea. This is the finest grade. Mm-hmm. If you notice, when you look at this, you'll only see the bud of the tea plant. That is the youngest growth of the shrub, of the bush. It's the leaf that has not yet unfurled.
Okay.
It's very downy, little fuzzy.
Let me put some in my hand here. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can get a close-up of this. Should I do one or a bunch?
Put a bunch. They're actually quite nice together.
Okay.
This is a very labor-intensive process. There's only certain times of year when the bud is available. It's plucked by hand. It's minimally processed, meaning that very little is done to this once it leaves the shrub.
Wow,
it's
thank you.
Withered a little bit. The moisture is allowed to leave the leaf, but a little bit is retained because you want it to be a little malleable. You don't want it to be brittle and dry.
Right.
And then it's bake dried. It's just run through like big ovens at very low temperature in order to seal it, almost like cauterizing everything.
Oh, really?
And that is it. So you're drinking what is as close to picking a leaf off the tea shrub.
Right. Do people in, what's it, Fujian province?
This is from China, yeah.
Okay.
Fujian.
Hey, did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. Do people will actually go out to a shrub and just rip it off and put it in hot water? Or they would process it, so to speak, themselves as well? They would bake it?
There is a professional, there are tea gardens, so you would purchase this from a garden.
I see.
And this is very dear. It's a very cherished type of tea.
How long do you steep it?
This would steep for 1 minute.
Oh.
You can steep it longer if you'd like, but you'll be very surprised at what you're going to taste. Now, traditional tea tasting is done right out of the cup.
With the
there are certain teas you can do. You can leave
with all the leaves in.
You can leave the leaves in, and maybe I'll pass over.
Pass over. Wrong people. Okay.
Now,
all right.
If you'd like to go first,
sure.
please do.
Okay.
Maybe bring it to you. And you are
first let me smell it.
You're a wine enthusiast, I know. And just as you would slurp a wine, you would take a sip of wine.
Tea.
You want to aerate your mouth.
Aerate your sinuses and everything.
Exactly.
Let it go through your head.
You want to touch as much of the
interesting.
inside of your palate.
Yes. It's very subtle. Interesting. And while I'm doing this, explain also, I noticed that you use water. Could you microwave the water have done this?
When you're working with, or when you're steeping or using tea that is loose leaf tea, ideally you want there to be oxygen in the water. You cannot get in a microwave, no. If you're doing a tea bag or you're just getting a quick cup, that's fine and good. But when you're working with loose leaf tea.
Oh, that's lovely. It's very subtle.
Yes.
Very subtle, and yet it's refreshing. It's not really, again, I'm equating it with wine, but it's not really big and full. It's got subtlety to it.
A little sweet?
Yeah. Let me see.
Do you get a little sweetness to there?
Let me see. Let's see here. Now a little leaf. I feel like having that.
The leaf's good for you.
Is it really? I'm not really getting a lot of sweet.
Okay.
If anything, it's just very, very subtle. But there's a certain refreshing quality to this.
Yeah, it's cooling.
Yeah, it's very refreshing. It leaves you feeling very comfortable in your mouth, not like either wanting to put out a fire or too much sweetness in your mouth.
Oh, good.
Oh, this is lovely. I could see drinking this with nothing. I mean, no sugar. Don't add anything to this. Oh, that's lovely. So, I do want to get to the other tasting also and start asking you questions. What do you want to do with this in the meantime? Leave it on the side or leave it on the table?
I can remove it from the table here.
Okay. If you want, I can put it over here. Oh, is that that's good?
That's
Okay.
good.
What exactly is tea?
Tea comes from one plant. It's called Camellia sinensis. And I'm glad you asked this question because quite often people tend to lump anything that is steeped in water as tea.
And it's not.
It's not. So chamomile, peppermint, verbena, anything that is herb, floral, fruit, root, that would fall in a category called tisane. Those are all herbs, florals, fruits. They're usually caffeine-free. They are in their own category.
They're not tea.
They're not tea. All tea comes from the Camellia sinensis plant.
And there are different
varietals of that plant,
I
correct.
See.
So depending on where that plant is grown, at what elevation, what the soil conditions are, what country it is, what the process is after the leaf is harvested, what is undergone, that then determines what type of tea it becomes.
I'm not suggesting that this word is used in tea, but is there a sense of terroir? Do you know the term terroir?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so, terroir, just for, if you're not familiar with the term, it's a French term, terroir, which means a sense of place.
Yes.
And that all things within that place will create, it's used for winemaking mostly, but it's used to know, and the French use it, that when they have their wine, the wine tastes the way it does because of a sense of the soil, of the winemaker, of the culture, of the air, the elevation.
Yeah.
Is it the same? It's the same thing in tea?
I'm so glad you brought it up. That's the parallel I always draw when I'm teaching about tea.
Right.
When I'm doing my trainings.
So it's the same.
Exactly
it's
the
same
same
thing. What's our next tea while I ask you some
more
more
questions?
The next
tea, and I will steep this while we're talking, is green.
Green tea.
We are going to taste two very different green teas. One is from China. One is from Japan.
Ah.
And you're going to be very surprised how different green tea can taste. Again, terroir.
It's the same tea. It's the same tea. Just it would be as if I took a Cabernet Sauvignon.
That's right.
And I grew it in California, and I grew it in Long Island.
That's right.
And they're not going to taste the same.
We're going to steep these for 3 minutes. That's the ideal time for green.
Okay, so that gives me a time to ask you other questions all about this, which I find interesting. What are some of the countries where tea would come from?
The big five, as we call them, for loose leaf tea. Ideal, good quality loose leaf tea. India, Sri Lanka, China, Japan, and Taiwan.
Oh, you didn't say Korea.
Korea does produce tea. It's very, Geely Mountain has beautiful green tea. You don't see much of it here. It's delicious. It's wonderful.
Just kept home?
It's kept home.
I see.
But we'll start to see more of it.
I see. What's the difference besides the obvious of loose leaf tea in comparison to tea bag tea?
Okay. Another great question. Tea bag tea is specifically designed to taste the same every time you put that in the cup.
Okay.
It's a cut leaf. So where here we have full leaf that is processed.
It'll be totally different each cup. Within a realm of normalcy.
Exactly. Again, it's much like wine, depending on the season, the rainfall, what were the soil conditions? Was it dry? Was it high? Was it low? Do they pick on time? Do they wait a few days? Do they over process? There are so many factors involved.
This is very interesting because, frankly, I have always been turned off to tea until when I started tasting some of what you've been doing, because all I know is from a tea bag. You put it in, and I'm not going to mention names of companies, but you put it in, and it just tastes insipid. It tastes bland. It's the kind of thing I would drink if I'm sick and I have no choice. And then I taste this. This reminds me of like drinking different wines because each one has its own character and its own experience. So I think that's a fascinating analogy. Do we make tea in the United States? And if so, how is it?
We do make tea in the United States.
We grow tea, I should say.
We do. There's a tea plantation down in the Carolinas, American tea plantation, I think it's called. And it's more of a novelty. The conditions there are okay. You can grow. Camellia sinensis is related to like the Camellia japonica, for those of you who are gardeners. Very similar plant. So it can grow here. It certainly can. But then again, depending on conditions, certain conditions are ideal for very good tea growth. There's some tea being grown in Hawaii that is supposed to be magnificent, and I'm very excited about.
Really?
I'm going to,
check it out.
I'm going to check that out. And there's some tea that's being grown out west where it's more elevated, and there's a lot more moisture in the air.
That has to be important.
It's important. You want cool at night, you want some moisture during the day, hot.
Oh, there you go.
We're ready.
We're ready to go. Okay. So now this is going to be green tea, and we're going to have one from China, did you say?
Yes.
And then one from Japan.
That's right.
Watch your hands.
And they're very different. Green tea, I should go through the process. Green tea. These are cupping sets.
Oh, look how clever that is.
Okay. You're going to look at the color here?
Innovative. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look at the color. I would say, gee, it's not steeped enough.
Okay.
Or steeped, I should say.
You see two different colors?
Yeah. This is darker, this is greener, that's yellower.
Yes, beautiful. That's exactly correct. Okay.
Wow.
The greener is the Japanese.
Which is the heavier tea? Or that's not, or more intense?
It's a different flavor.
Okay, so it doesn't matter which one I start first.
So you can go with what?
Okay, so I'm sorry. You said the greener is Japanese?
And the yellow is the Chinese. And it's because of the process. So now you know, Dr. Passes, when you go to a restaurant where they're serving tea, if you order a cup of green tea, you'll be able to say, that's a Japanese green tea. That's a Chinese green tea. You're already clued in.
Anything to impress people, I always say.
But the green process is...
reminds me of green tea, absolutely.
Okay, that's the Japanese. Now, if you taste the Chinese, it's very different. The green tea is...
As different as day and night.
Very different.
Wow.
Right.
And again, this is due to place.
It's also the way it's processed after it's harvested. Green tea is always steamed. Right after it's plucked from the plant, it's steamed. And it's much like steaming your vegetables. You want to retain all
vegetables the vitamins and everything else, yeah.
You're kind of ceasing the process there. You're stopping the breakdown. You don't want to, you want to neutralize the enzymes.
Right. It's very good. They're both very delicious. Let me see again the difference. I like the Chinese.
The Chinese, this is called Longqing.
Longqing.
It's dragon's well. It's from a specific dragon's well.
Dragon's well.
It's what the region, it's from Hangzhou province in China. And it's a pan-fired. It's like a big wok. So after these leaves are picked, steamed, they're manipulated into some type of shape. In this case, it's a very flat leaf. And then it's dried in a big wok. And it kind of cauterizes it, stops the process. The Japanese tea is steamed again after it's manipulated. So that's your difference. The steaming again retains the greenness. The pan firing gives it almost like a toastiness. You're kind of
That's exactly what I'm getting. I am getting a toasty flavor to this. I'm getting a woody flavor.
Yes.
Yeah, a burnt woody flavor, but not inoffensive.
It's pleasant, right?
Or not offensive, I should say. Interesting.
Those are your two.
Yeah,
and if you wanted to look at the leaf itself, this is the pan-fired, so this is the Chinese leaf, and that's the Japanese leaf.
Well, let me see. We'll get a close-up of this. So you get a shot of that. The camera gets right in there. Look at that. That's terrific. So you can see the color in this. And yeah, the color is absolutely different. You know what? Do me a favor. Put a pinch of this in the other hand so we can compare the two of them together. Put in this here.
Even the color of the green is different.
Yeah, you can see. I don't know. Can you get in there, Jason? You can see? Yeah, see, I'll do this. Look at the difference in the two. Interesting. So this over here is the Japanese is the fired. No, the Chinese is the fired.
That's the pan-fired.
Right, and this is the Japanese that's steamed.
Correct.
Right. Interesting. Look at that. Okay. Thanks a lot. That's great.
Good.
That is great. Wow, I'm getting an education here. Wait, I can't wait to go to my friend who has this great Asian restaurant in town. I don't want to mention names right
Okay.
But she'll get a kick out of it. You know the restaurant. Okay, what do we have next? Well, I'm having a good time. This is great.
I'm glad.
Do the next. Tell me what we're doing next, and then I'm going to ask you, like in wine, how do you pair tea and food, or don't you?
You sure do. And
okay,
that's
so
fun.
what are we drinking first? What are we tasting?
We are going to be tasting Oolong.
Oolong.
What we're doing, like
That's a very
wine.
famous name.
Yeah. And if you've noticed, we're going from light to dark, as you would with a wine tasting.
Correct.
So we're going white and then green. Oolong is the next category down the spectrum.
I can see the colors. They're getting darker and darker.
You're absolutely right.
I see them on the mat.
Oolong is a very big category.
And this comes from China?
Oolong traditionally is from Taiwan. And China. You'll now find oolong made in other countries as well, but very traditionally it's Taiwan, which is often called Formosa oolong, the former name of the island of Taiwan.
Now I see you have two types of oolong.
Yes.
Explain.
I did this because...
You wanted to confuse me.
I don't want to do that. The first is from China. It's called Ti Kuan Yin, Iron Goddess of Mercy. And the second, she's lovely. And the second is Buddha's Finger. This is from Taiwan. This is a darker oxidization. We haven't even approached oxidization yet. Okay. When the leaf is picked with oolong, black tea is completely oxidized. That's what makes it black. The leaf is broken a little bit, exposed to air, and like biting into an apple, it's going to oxidize. It gets brown. It degrades a bit. With oolong, it's a very controlled process. So the leaves are picked, withered a little bit. That's the moisture leaving the leaf. Then they are basket tossed in the traditional way. Now machines are used. But the basket tossing was done gently so as to bruise the outside of the leaf only. Just a little bit of bruising. And that would be the oxidizing part of the leaf. And then it would be controlled for a certain period of time. Oolong is from 15% to 75% oxidized. So that is a huge category, and there are all types of oolongs within that category.
So it's how it's processed.
Exactly. This is a medium oxidized oolong. This is a darker. This is more probably like a 70%. This is probably in the middle. This is probably like a 40% oxidization.
That would be equated to like when you're barrel aging wine, you have how much degrees of toast in the barrel when you know what I'm talking about? They take the barrels and they burn it. And it's a matter of how much they burn it to give a certain kind of flavor to the wine.
Okay.
So it's the degree of toast, the degree of burnt, the degree of oxidation. Anyway, this stays for how long?
This is a 3 minute, so I'm going to do that for 1 more minute.
Okay.
Oolong, traditionally, you can also steep many times over. So you could put these leaves directly in your cup, pour your water, and just keep drinking. Pour your water. Just keep drinking until the flavor dissipates.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. What about caffeine? Is there caffeine in this?
Sure. There's caffeine in all tea. All tea contains caffeine. That's just a fact.
Right.
If you go green tea, black tea contains about 1/3 less than that of coffee. And then you go down the spectrum, green tea's less than that, white tea's very minimal. If you want to decaffeinate your tea by yourself,
how do you do that?
You can do a water process. Caffeine is emitted into the cup within the first 30 to 60 seconds.
Oh.
It's one of the first elements
to
that leaves the leaf. Yeah. So you can literally make your tea, let it steep for 30 to 60 seconds.
1 minute, right.
Pour off that cup.
And make another cup.
Make another cup.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love this. You know, this is the best part of having this show. I learned so much great stuff from the experts. Okay, this is great.
We're going to do an oolong. And we could have
Good
done this
job.
right in the cup, but
yeah,
just leave those leaves.
This looks cool. I like this.
We'll leave
That looks
those.
great.
Okay.
Terrific.
Now you're going to notice again, color plays a large part in tea and recognizing, just like wine.
Right, right. This is
Color's
great.
important.
You know, I do a lot of wine dinners, and I bring in a lot of different winemakers from Long Island and from other places in the world, and we have a lot of fun, and people learn. It'd be interesting for you to do a tea tasting at some restaurants. Have you ever done that?
It would be fun. I do tea tastings a lot. I work
Not
with
at
a
a
lot
restaurant.
I work with a lot of restaurants, so we've often done pairings where
Let's get to that before the show is over. Talk to me about food pairing.
Yeah. Pairing is often to taste, but I have a few kind of guidelines that I follow. If you're pairing sweets with tea, think of what would go well with milk and pair those things with an item that contains milk or that could contain milk. I'm sorry, we're just going to do.
Good.
You want savory foods. Heavier foods need a heavier tea to stand up to it. Otherwise, the flavor will be lost.
Okay.
So if you're working with meats or darker fishes or even heavier vegetables using lots of oils or vinegars even, you want something that's going to cut through all of that. So usually the blacks pair well with things like that, heavier foods. Greens go really well with lighter things like fruits or sorbets or whipped type of desserts.
Do you have tea with your meal?
I use tea.
Or
I
after
drink
the
tea
meal?
all the time. Tea is great for after the meal as
Right.
well. Particularly, we'll taste this later. This is called docha, and that's excellent for just good digestion.
Really? Okay, well, later won't be too far away. Let's see. Starting with this one first. Now, which one is this again?
This one
is
is
the
called-
lighter. It's yellow.
Yes.
Yellow and lighter.
So you already know that that's the lighter oxidation. That's called Ti Kuan Yin. That's the Iron Goddess of Mercy.
Tea Kuan Yin.
It's a little floral.
Lovely, absolutely. Floral, very nice. Very. There's wood.
Oh,
There's wood in this.
okay.
And it's not unpleasant. There's wood in this.
Great.
There's also a certain mild astringency
Yeah.
that I'm getting from this, from the Iron Goddess of Mercy.
Astringency in tea is actually a good thing.
Is that right?
You want mouthfeel as well.
I do. I get like a puckering.
Yeah.
And what do we have now? This one again
This one is called Buddha's Finger. And
Wow, totally unexpected. Earthy,
Yeah.
very earthy, and very complex.
nutty or
Absolutely very
Okay.
nutty, very intense. Fabulous, fabulous. Oh,
these oolong
I think
leaves.
this one intrigues me more than all of them.
Oh, really? So far?
Yeah. We only have about 4 minutes left.
Oh,
Let's
really?
get-
Oh, my
What did I
goodness.
tell you about the time? So let's take up the next ones and get them steeping while I talk to you. Oh, I like that. I like the Buddha's finger and the Iron Goddess. They both were very good.
Excellent.
The Buddha's finger. Wow, that really stays with you.
I'm going to make that.
It's delicious.
I'm glad you like that.
Oh, I do. That's very nice. I'm learning a lot here. This is a tea biscuit.
It is. It's made with tea, green tea.
Look at this. See if we can get a close-up of this.
And tea is great to cook with.
Really?
You can use it in your recipes. It's great for smoking. It's great for making with shrimp. If you have a wok, you could do it on the barbecue. You can grind it up, add it to your spices. This has been done for centuries in countries like China and Japan.
And nobody told me.
And now we're finally getting we're getting informed.
What are we drinking now?
We are going to drink Darjeeling, which is black. Darjeeling is considered
India?
Yes. Foothills of the Himalayas.
Okay.
In the heavens.
Foothills of the Himalayas.
It is considered the champagne of tea.
Let's go. I want some champagne. How long is that?
So we're going to steep this just for a little while.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I'm also steeping this docha here, which finishes all categories of tea. Docha is pu'er. Black tea is, as we talked about, oxidized completely. So the leaves are withered, they're plucked, they're withered, they're broken.
Robust, heavy, full-bodied.
Right, oxidized. This, after it's made into a black tea, moisture is added, and it's encouraged to decompose, so it has very good high bacteria.
Wow.
Like yogurt.
We got about 2 minutes left.
Okay, well, you can taste this.
Sure. Taste this, absolutely.
I'm going to do this, and
okay, we'll do that.
Do this real fast. And look at that beautiful color.
Yeah, beautiful orange. It's orange pico, you know.
Yeah, it's like a copper.
It really is, but it's a beautiful copper. There's amber in it. Wow.
Isn't that
Wow.
lovely?
Let me see. See, I have that biscuit in my mouth.
But this is a nice pairing, because that's green, and Darjeeling is a little lighter for a black tea.
I must say that the Buddha's finger was a bigger tea.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's a heartier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a heartier, more robust tea.
Darjeelings are lighter. Now this is going to be something
delicious.
very different.
Okay.
It's said that pu'er is aged in caves.
Oh, wow. I was about to say, what a musty smell. Wow.
Do you like it?
Absolutely different, I do.
Oh, good.
I seem to like these bigger teas.
Yeah.
Wow.
You must drink red wine.
This is absolutely fabulous.
I'm glad you like it.
Just fabulous. This has been absolutely terrific. This is great. Well, there are thousands of teas throughout the world. Yeah. Will you come back again some other time? We can do some other flights of tea?
Yes, I'd love to.
Terrific. We're just out of time. Do you believe how fast time went?
No.
Did I tell you? Like that?
I can't believe it's gone.
Amazing. I learned a lot. It was wonderful. Again, one of the best compliments I always give a guest is when the guest teaches me something, and I thank you. You've taught me a lot today, which is the best compliment I can give you.
Thank you.
And you had great tea.
Dr. Pass's tea contains fluoride.
Tea contains fluoride. Did you hear that? Tea contains fluoride. Make sure you do that. You have a cup of tea, and you can floss and brush every day. That's great. I like that. See, last second you give it. Okay, I think we're out of time. Am I right, gang? I think we're out of time. So I want to thank you, Linda Villano.
Oh, thank you, Dr.
My serendipity for coming down.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. This was great fun, and this was great. Maybe we'll take some other show in the future and talk all about the whole process. And like this whole block here of tea. Which smells fantastic. I love it. Going into your shop smells intoxicating. So that's wonderful. So I hope you gained a lot out of it. This was great. And it's interesting because I don't think most of us Americans drink a lot of tea. And this was a lot of fun. So thank you again. And I hope you enjoyed. And I want to thank you for sticking around with us. And we'll see you again next time. Until then, just like Linda Villano, be passionate about what you do. Otherwise, what does it matter? And one other thing also. When you get up in the morning, don't forget, put on a smile. Very important. Without that smile, you're finished. So Dr. Pass is saying, we'll see you again next time. Until then, have passion. That was great.